Travis Hunter made the Locked On NFL Top 100. I'll tell you why it could lead to some fatigue similar to Caitlin Clark and why you shouldn't care here on Locked On Jaguars.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is your team every day here on Locked On Jaguars. We thank you for making us your first listen. I am Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. I have covered the Jaguars for over 2 decades now, and I'm proud to say we'll do it again as training camp starts here very, very soon. And I'm going to keep you up to date on all of the things that are going on. Right now, we're going to discuss the NFL Top 100 by the Locked On Podcast Network and how it affects the Jacksonville Jaguars today. We'll end the show talking about who got snubbed. That was Brian Thomas Jr. Greatness fatigue is real. How Travis Hunter being compared to people he hasn't even played against yet can be off-putting to some folks. And we'll start at the very top with Travis Hunter being listed in the top 100. After I let you know that you can find our podcast wherever you get your podcast, whether you watch or listen, we will be there each and every day because we are there for the everydayers who join our show and for the new ones. And we'll give you a reason to stick around. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, let's get it started. We're going to start at the very top. Travis Hunter was listed in the top 100 at the Locked On Podcast Network, including yours truly. That we did. And I know it was a little bit controversial for a lot of people. It's controversial for me. I personally don't include anyone in any top 100 list, whether we're talking about it in a barbershop or whatever. I don't include guys who haven't played it down yet in the NFL. That's just me. But I am happy that we finally got somebody to get some acknowledgement from Jacksonville, but it seems like Travis got it based on everything else but being in Jacksonville because he's never worn the teal and black yet. He's never scored a touchdown, caught a pass, gotten a first down. Hell, they haven't even played a game yet. And he already got acknowledged. Okay, that's a good thing. I get a feeling that if he had played a game and had played well, he wouldn't have been acknowledged because people just have that outright outlook towards Jacksonville. Case in point, Brian Thomas Jr., who we'll talk about in segment 3, snubbed after being one of the 10 best receivers in the league last year. His running mate, Malik Neighbors from LSU, Brian had better stats, and Malik Neighbors, he was voted in. So it's a little bit, it's fun to do. We're going to have fun with it. Sometimes it can be controversial, but look, people are human. People are people. There are a lot of people around the league. If you go to the Locked On Podcast NFL Top 100 at Locked On Sports Today or around the league and listen to some folks, you will listen to Locked On NFL. You're going to hear folks talk about how they were disrespected. My man Matt Derry up in Detroit had 6 people. He said they should have had 8. They should have had 8. I'm telling you, man, everyone from around the league loves their team. They see it from their perspective, and they know little things that other people don't, like how important a player really is to a team, how important a player can be to a great team. Sometimes other people don't see and feel that from a distance, and that's why it's important to listen to locals. That's why, whether it's the Locked On Jaguars podcast or whatever, you should get most of your information from local people, including some of our hosts that actually did vote Travis in to the top 100. I don't have a problem with it at all, and the reason why is because it's just an acknowledgement of a young man that people believe are going to absolutely be great. And like I said, every now and then folks just move a little differently when they think about these things. And I do the exact same thing. You know, I move a little different and I don't expect people to think like me, but it's all in good fun. And the thing is for me, when you do a top 100, you should include the local people instead of just a bunch of national folks that have some narratives. And sometimes things are going to not necessarily go the way that you didn't want them to go. Jaguar fans were mixed because they were glad we finally got somebody there. But at the same time, they were upset that we didn't get a couple of other people. Notable folks, too. Trayvon Walker, Josh Hines Allen, Foye Oluokun, who seems like he's led the league in tackles the last 5 years. But I'll tell you why they don't win. And when you win, guys that play a pivotal role on good teams will get more acknowledgement than when you lose, and guys that are trying to play Superman and do everything they can to bring their team to a victory. It's just the nature of the beast. I'll go through the last 10 guys to make it, and then you'll go, God, those were the last 10. Andrew Thomas is a great player. He's number 91. There's Malik Neighbors at 92, where Brian Thomas Jr. should have been ahead of him. Dak Prescott is at 93. The people in Dallas are upset about that. Bradley Chubb has barely played the last 2 or 3 years, and he's at 94. Tariq Woolen is at 95. I ain't got no problem with it. Jesse Bates at 96. Devontae Adams being 97 is wild to me because Devontae Adams was catching passes from the Raiders quarterbacks and Aaron Rodgers in New York when that wasn't the greatest situation, and he still got over 1,000 yards, and he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I find that low. Derek Brown missed the entire season last year, but he's still a good player. Daniil Hunter. When you wonder why Josh Allen or Trayvon Walker didn't make it, and then you look up and see Daniil Hunter, who's a really damn good player at 99. All of these lists, man, when you look at them, there are a bunch of people in this league that can play. On average, with 32 teams, if we just balance it out, and it doesn't work this way, but if we just go across the board with 32 teams, that's roughly 4 players. No, not even 4, 3. 3 players per team with a few left over, with like 4 left over. 3 times 32 is 96, right? So it's 3 players per team that can actually make this. And when you get a real good team like Philly that puts 7 people in, well, then those odds start going down because now you got 31 teams. So Philly takes up their 3 plus 4 more people. And the more teams you get like that, Detroit with 6, I believe Houston and the 49ers had 5. Once you get out, and the Chiefs, once you get past those good teams, that takes like 22, 23 of the folks out. So now you have 78 people left, or 78 spots left for like 28 teams. So now it goes down to 2 per team. Everybody can't get someone on the list. Here's the thing about Travis Hunter that I want to discuss. You see greatness fatigue with a lot of people. And sometimes people will tell you that it's not just that they're great, it's they're great, but they're being forced down our throats a little bit. I'm afraid that might happen with Travis Hunter. And I'm afraid I'm going to tell anybody that gets upset to not give a damn about that and not worry about it, because you got to control the controllable. But Caitlin Clark, you see it. Caitlin's great, right? I think she's great. I also think that the powers that be go above and beyond to try to force it down your throat. And I also think that there are people that have other agendas that I don't want to discuss here on the show that get involved in this kind of stuff that makes something that should be fun turn into something that is not fun, or something that is a little bit too tedious, and it starts making people say, man, all I want to do is think about sports. I don't want. Tim Tebow was that way, great human being. You can argue about his on the field stuff. LeBron James is that way. I think Luka Doncic is that way. Even from teams, people were rooting for the Patriots because they were this Cinderella story to beat the greatest show on turf, right? Yeah, 5 years later, people were rooting against them because they kept winning so much. I remember when Golden State, with all of their guys, none of them were lottery picks, right? Well, they were lottery picks, but they weren't number 1 overall. Clay, Draymond was a second-round pick, and, of course, Steph was like number 8 or something like that. When they came out of nowhere and all of these super teams were being put together, everybody was rooting for Golden State. Once they started winning too much, people were rooting against Golden State. I think greatness fatigue is real, and I'll discuss that in the next segment here on Locked On Jaguars. Brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. I was watching tennis, WNBA, and all that stuff, man. And whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the greens, or high stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling with FanDuel? You can get in on the action while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. Then you can go out there and join them with a pocket full of money. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first team wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get yourself started. All right, we're moving and grooving here on the Locked On Jaguars podcast. Doing a quick review of the Jaguars portion of the Locked On NFL Top 100. I think it's very, very appropriate that we do it ourselves as opposed to referencing everyone else. I'm gonna get that word out, but referencing everyone else's opinion over these teams when the local experts, I think, do a real good job. I'm gonna go through the top 10 real quick just to show you the consistency of it. Lamar Jackson actually took the top spot over Patrick Mahomes, and I think that's probably a little bit of right nowism. Like recently, statistically, he's played better than Patrick Mahomes the last couple of years. But Patrick Mahomes was number 2. Josh Allen was number 3. By the way, my man Joe Marino thought it was just absolute disrespect that his guy was number 3, and he should think that. The edge position breaks up the quarterback monopoly in the top 5. Myles Garrett is number 4. Joe Burrow's 5th. Justin Jefferson was slightly ahead of his college teammate Jamar Chase. I personally would flip-flop those, but that doesn't mean that I don't like Justin Jefferson. Michael Parsons was number 8. He's the second of 3 defensive players. He's followed right behind by Patrick Surtain, the second, and then Saquon Barkley rounds it out as a running back, making the top 10. Let's do the players around where Travis Hunter were. It was Nico Collins, Quinnen Williams, Rashawn Slater, Trey McBride, Christian Gonzalez, very, very good player. Will Anderson right in front of Travis Hunter, and then you had Joey Love, my man Peter Bukowski, locked on Packers. Wasn't real happy about that. Future Hall of Famer Mike Evans is at 69, and 70 was guard Quinn Miners. See, I like the Quinn Miners selection because it's stuff like that. I know how good he is, and Cody Rourke is probably with him and Sayre out there with Locked On Broncos is probably like, yeah, I'm glad somebody noticed it. But I mentioned that you could get fatigued by certain things. With Travis Hunter, it's going to come down to whether or not they win or not is going to determine how that fatigue comes, right? The dancing on the practice field, come during the season, you won't see much of that because the media, all we do is watch them stretch and then we leave. And then they practice and do their install. You're not going to be seeing that. And I think things will be a little bit more serious. But during training camp and all of that, I liken it back to John Wall. When John Wall did the Dougie and somebody went crazy about that. And everybody got all over, I think it was Colin Cowherd. They jumped all over Colin Cowherd for going on this diatribe about John Wall dancing too much, right? John Wall ignited a city that needed to be ignited. Trust me, I used to live there, and they didn't have a whole bunch to be excited about basketball-wise. And he delivered, but the team stunk, and they weren't able to ever get over the hump, right? They had a couple of good years where they made the playoffs, but it looked, in retrospect, you'll look back at it, and they'll point to the dancing. The same way they do with Shaq whenever that thing broke up in L.A., they pointed to the fact that Shaq was making videos instead of shooting free throws. Don't think it was going to help very much, but it's the same thing. And now when you get to the WNBA, you see Caitlin Clark, and I mentioned her earlier. Folks get tired of every single time you turn on the TV, they're talking about Caitlin Clark like she's the only one in the WNBA. I get it. But you know what? It's going to happen. Eventually, it's going to happen with Travis. If he's good, folks are going to get tired of him being good. If he's bad, they will never get tired of pointing out the fact that he's not living up to what everyone expects. So as a Jaguar fan, I'm going to give you some advice on how to navigate it. Control the controllable. Because when you cheer for Travis Hunter, you know what you're doing it for. You're doing it for him scoring touchdowns, getting interceptions, and stopping people, right? And you're cheering for the team and you want him to succeed. When other people look from the outside, they hate to see you happy. The definition of a hater is someone who will not only go the extra mile to make sure you're miserable, they will make sure your happiness looks like something that is not. We haven't had a lot of that stuff around here. Celebrate every single minute if you want to, if you're a Jaguar fan and you have a number 12 jersey on. You have earned that right because y'all have cheered when you didn't have something to cheer for. You've been out there when you didn't have a reason to be there. You braved the rain, and don't even mention the heat. There was a game a couple of years ago that was so hot, they drank all the water by halftime. It's somebody's fault, but still, it was just that hot. It was hot in the press box. I almost took my shirt off, but I knew it was going to escort me out of there. But my thing is the Jaguar fans have braved so much. Don't you let nobody tell you you can't celebrate. Don't you let nobody tell you can't do the whoop. Don't you let nobody tell you can't do whatever you want to do because you've been doing it while they've been losing. Therefore, if they start winning or this thing turns around, or even if they don't win, but it's just super, super exciting, like they play every game and they lose 38-37, if you want to dance and celebrate, dance and celebrate. The hell with those people. They don't listen to you when you tell them that Jimmy Smith and Fred Taylor need to be in the Hall of Fame. They didn't listen all of these years when we tried to tell them how great Tony Baselli was. It took a whole bunch of alumni to come out and say, no, he was better. Dudes that had those yellow jackets, those gold jackets were saying, no, he's better than me. They can't control how you celebrate. They can't control what the thing that makes you happy. If they get tired of you being happy, they're haters. That being said, I still don't think Travis should have been in the top 100, but I'm glad he was. There's a player, though, I think should have been there who isn't. And this sadly reminds me of exactly what the Jaguar fans have had to deal with forever. I'm going to talk about Brian Thomas Jr. and why people don't recognize him. A lot of it might be his personality, but more than likely it's the color of the uniform that he wears and the team that he plays for. We'll discuss that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. The Jacksonville Jaguars never get credit for anything. Haven't had a whole lot happen that they should get credit for if we're being completely honest. But one thing that they should get credit for, Trent Baalke included, is finding a way to draft Brian Thomas Jr. in the 2024 draft. Brian Thomas Jr., so far, the way he has gotten started, might end up being the best Jacksonville Jaguars draft pick of all time. With all due respect to Tony Baselli, that was pretty much a no-brainer. He was the top 2 pick. With all due respect to Fred Taylor, they got a gift. They were a really good team that got a gift from Buffalo for Brad Johnson, and they were able to get him. With all due respect to Maurice Jones-Drew and Rasheen, and I give them a lot of credit because this is weighted. Those guys were second-round picks. Brian Thomas Jr. was chosen at 20. He can play, man. He can absolutely play. This is almost like when the Mavericks traded away Luka and everybody got mad and then they got Cooper Flagg. Well, remember when the Jaguars didn't take Justin Jefferson, who's sitting right there right now at number 6 or 7 on this list? We've been thinking about that forever. They took Kayvon Chason and they needed a wide receiver, and Justin Jefferson was right there. All pro, all world. This almost feels like, all right, I'm going to give y'all something back because Brian Thomas Jr. is the goods, man. And the one thing that got me angry was that he wasn't on that list. Now, I will tell you this. I did have a couple of people from the network in our own communication forum in our own area. I'm going to let you behind the veil a little bit. Spencer German from Locked On Browns actually told me, well, before I even said anything, Spencer German said, it's a travesty that Brian Thomas Jr. is not on this list. But he also included Travis Hunter. So he would have given us 2 guys on the list. My friend Patricia Traynor with Locked On Giants was transparent and admitted to me Brian Thomas Jr. snub ruined her day because she said she was out in the sun. I think she said it ruined I'm out in this sun and it ruined my nice Italian morning. Shout out to Patricia Traynor. He told me as a wig, that's wrong. He should have been there. But I said, don't worry about it because I'm sure that in filling out my list, it might have been incomplete, man, because I was totally, it was very, very difficult for me to do it, right? But I'm sure there were people that I would have left out too. I'm sure there's somebody that if I exposed where I was on my sheet, they would have been like, are you crazy? What are you talking about? You can't leave them out. The Brian Thomas Jr. thing just bothers me because there's no way there's 100 players in the NFL better than him. I don't think there's 75 players in the league better than him. I might even go higher than that. You got to be careful, though, because there's a lot of real, real good players in the league. Like I said, like 7 of those jokers reside in Philly alone, right? Some players are really good players on great teams, and their contribution to that great team is magnified or enhanced because there's the belief that if they were on a lesser team, that they would probably have more statistics than they have. You know, I think if A.J. Brown didn't play on a team where Saquon Barkley ran for 2,000 yards, A.J. Brown could get 1,900 yards receiving if he was on a mediocre or a bad team where they were forcing it about. Devontae Smith could get more stats if he were not on a team like that. I mean, those are situations where we understand. So BT got snubbed. Josh Hines Allen also, to me, he's the next person because this is where the contradiction starts for me. These contradictions start for me when you start talking about players. Because the folks that don't like Trayvon always talk about pressure rate and all of this stuff. Well, Josh Allen is always high in pressure rate. And then there are folks that when Josh got 17 and a half sacks, well, he was just chasing sacks for a contract. There's more to being a defensive end than chasing sacks. It's like setting the edge and stopping the run and doing the dirty work. Well, those are the things that Trayvon Walker does a whole bunch of. And they were the only tandem in the National Football League to both be in the top 15 in the league in pressures. But nobody put them in the top 100. Foye Oluwakan's been a tackling machine. I think he led the league in tackles 3 straight years, and he's been very close to another 1 or 2 years. Nowhere on the list. But you can't find any weaknesses in his game, can you? You can't. Moving forward, I'm going to tell y'all how to handle this stuff. If the Jaguars handle their business on the field, you ain't going to have to worry about this anymore. I wouldn't worry about it now, to be honest with you. I don't mind being disrespected. Keep disrespecting them. But I just want y'all to watch what's going to happen. Trevor Lawrence, if this team wins, I said how Trevor Lawrence can get into the MVP race and people went crazy because they don't realize that winning changes everybody's perception over you. Jared Goff is on the list. Jared Goff wouldn't have been on anybody's top 100 list if Detroit wasn't a good football team. And I'm not saying statistically he isn't very good, but these things go hand in hand. There's a lot of people around him. Detroit had like 6 players on that list. When you elevate the things around Trevor, when you be better on offense on the other side of the Jags defense that has those 3 defensive players I mentioned, and then I'll throw in Tyson Campbell and Travis Hunter because he's going to play on that side of the ball. As it elevates, folks will get their individual love. Folks will get their individual acclaim. Folks will get all of the things that should come to them. But the team has to win first. That doesn't apply to everybody else, I know. And then there'll be folks saying, what are you talking about? Travis, he's on the list and he hasn't even played. That's exactly what I'm saying. See, that's how this works. That's why I'm telling you that there are other things here at play other than how good a player really is. It's what you anticipate, what you think, what you feel. And I can't get mad at anybody for feeling that the Jaguars haven't been very good. That's why I said at the very beginning, Maybe Travis Hunter's on this list because people haven't seen him in teal and black. Because when you see a guy in teal and black, no matter what he does, it's never good enough. Fred Taylor averaged 4.6 yards a carry in 8 different seasons. Jimmy Smith has 9 1,000-yard seasons, but yet and still, you'll still get people that'll try to argue with you and say that they're not Hall of Fame caliber players, and that's not correct. And then the people that bring up Jimmy always want to bring up off-field stuff. And I'd say, okay, if you're going to bring up off-field stuff, take away all the on-field stuff, even the games that he won. Take away the Baltimore game. They lose that game. You can't have it both ways. If you're going to take the games, if you're going to take all of the contributions that that player made, then you sometimes got to take the bad stuff too. When you're asking how good they were on the field, you're not asking them whether or not they need to win a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, there's a limit to it. You start beating on women or you start choking people out and start being a menace to society. That's different. I'm not talking about a dude that had substance abuse problems that never hurt anyone except himself. Yeah, I said it. I had to tell somebody that on social media the other day when they bring up this stuff. Stop shoveling crap on yourself. There are plenty of people in the Hall of Fame that haven't done as good for themselves as you should have. But we acknowledge what they did on the field. And I'm not saying it's right, but I am saying it's wrong to single out one player. You see, and this is a microcosm of everything. If you're a good, happy-go-lucky kid like Travis Hunter, you're going to have your haters. If you're a good dude on the field and have some sketchy stuff in your personal life like Jimmy, you're going to have haters. And with Brian Thomas Jr., if you're quiet and unassuming, you're going to have people that don't want to acknowledge the fact that you exist, and then they think, well, you need to do more to market yourself. Boxing analogy. Here it goes. Bob Arum said he couldn't promote Floyd Mayweather or Terrence Crawford. Turns out Floyd Mayweather and Terrence Crawford are 2 of the 3 or 4 best boxers in the last 30 years. Why can't you promote greatness if you're a promoter? They got to promote themselves, is what Bob Arum said. Oh, really? Well, why is your job promoter? You, as a person who covers the media, should not expect the dude's personality to affect how you feel about what he does on the football field. If that's the case, you probably shouldn't be doing it. And I'm not talking about my colleagues. I'm just talking about people in general. But for the Jaguar fan, oh, don't worry about it. The day is coming. The day is coming that they're going to be so good that people are going to get sick of you. And you know what I want you to do? I want you to keep screaming Duval. I want you to keep whooping. If you can whoop. If you can't whoop, I don't want you to do it. If y'all don't know what whooping is, it's a Jacksonville staple. It's sort of a cultural tribal dance, and there's some people that know how to do it and some people don't. But the ones that know how to do it know how to do it very well. And I want y'all to whoop all over everybody if the Jaguars get good and then they start hating on our players because, well, that's just what people love to do. You got to control the controllable, man, and that's what we do here on Locked On Jaguars. Make sure the list I'm talking about, it is on Locked On Sports Today. That's another podcast. My man Peter Bukowski gives it to you like you can't get it anywhere else. And on the Locked On Sports Today page, there is the NFL Top 100. We'll have reaction shows. Y'all want to do something funny? Go around the league to the teams that you like and don't like and listen to the reaction shows from Top 100 and watch how everybody says they were absolutely disrespected. We got one player on the list who ain't never played a Jaguar game, but everybody else talking about they were disrespected. I'm doing it all in jest and fun because that's what it's all about, having fun as we get ready for training camp, which will start next week, by the way. Credential is already stamped and approved, so your boy will be out there giving you all the news from around the National Football League, well, from the Jaguars' perspective anyway, and on Locked On NFL, talking about it from around the league as well. You guys take care. Make sure you go out and check out the NFL Top 100 by the Locked On Podcast Network. We had a lot of fun with it, and y'all do the same. See you next time.